Welcome to All Things Marketing Podcast, the podcast that talks all things marketing for both franchise and multi-location marketing leaders. ATM is brought to you by PureDriven. We'll show you how to turn your brand into a money-making machine. Here's your host, Steve Rockwood.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to ATM. My name is Steve Rockwood, and I'm the marketing manager at PureDriven. Today, we are going to talk about how to find new franchisees to grow your franchise business. I'm joined once again by special guest Chris Swanson, CEO at PureDriven, as well as head of franchise development. Would you like to say hello today?
Of course, I'd love to say hello. Welcome, everybody. Steve, thank you for once again having me on this podcast. It truly is a joy for me to be able to spend time talking all things marketing with you and with all of our audience out there in the greater world.
It is very fun, and I'm glad we have this new format to do it in. We also have some new equipment, so it's always fun to do that as well. My first question for you today is, how do you determine the ideal franchisee that fits your brand?
Well, Steve, that's a pretty deep question. And I know there's a lot of franchises out there today that are excited to hear what it is that they can do to get more franchisees. The really important thing is first to understand that digital and social marketing isn't your end all to successful engagement. What we have found is that digital and social marketing is a really good complementary message to folks who are very interested in your brand. It can help get them excited about being a franchisee, and it can help get them excited about continuing to think about being a franchisee. It's usually not going to be what helps them, sign on the dotted line. And I'm not going to get too far into all the issues surrounding making sure that you get the right franchisee. Discussions that I hear all the time are, is the perfect franchisee an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur? What's the mentality of that person? What I find pretty consistently in that side of things is listening to franchises that have been successful is finding franchisees that are value fits to their organization. If the mentality is aligned, the attitude is aligned, and it's good attitude, usually you're going to find success as long as they're willing to do what you've given to me as your process. But digital and social marketing really is important as kind of, again, that complementary tool that might, a display retargeting ad or a Facebook ad might kind of pique their interest, and they go, that's something I need to check out.
Yeah.
What's great about digital and social marketing today and in all things online marketing is we can go in and look, and the second important thing is we can go find interest of the franchisee that might align with what we're looking for. One of the things people forget to do so often is create what we call a persona of the perfect franchisee. If you already have some franchisees, take a look around at the ones you really like and just ask yourself, what do you really like about them, and make a list on the board. Usually those are what we call attitude or value fits. Now what you're going to want to do is start talking about that as you go out to seek other franchisees within your video content, within your, just typical, any sort of content you're putting out. Make sure that the message is very strong to what you're looking for in terms of attitude. So that's going to help you find the right people, but also targeting those things that they might enjoy. So when you look at the persona that you're going to build on the franchisee, you're going to say, hey, I'm also looking for those things that they enjoy doing. And you'll find, ironically, that a lot of interests are quite similar or around similar interest groups. And as you do that, you might start tapping into some different channels, niche digital and social marketing locations. You and I were talking off air about Cirrus and what they're doing. You listen to a lot of that. You get a lot of franchise ads looking for franchisees. Yep. There's a lot of places you can go where if you niche in as a franchisor, you can find the franchisees that are interested in helping you grow your franchise.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, on that note with the radio that we're talking about, I've noticed that a lot of the radio franchises that I'm hearing ads for are on the lower cost to entry side of things. So when it comes to those more expensive franchises to start opening, you do need a much larger approach because, as you were saying, it's a lot more personal. It's a bigger jump for someone to devote their entire life or a lot of their life savings into this franchise.
Exactly. Now, I will tell you that I know for a fact, having done a lot of this work, that the best thing you can do is when people experience your brand in your store, let them know that you have this opportunity available for them maybe elsewhere. It's not unheard of for people to move because they love a brand to go open that somewhere else. It's not unheard of for people to get pretty serious about a brand. And those are the people that are true evangelists for you. They're really motivated to really have big success. But yes, they're making a life decision. This isn't a small decision they're making. And we need to be realist about the fact that digital and social on a percentage rarely is what causes somebody ultimately to make the decision to work with you.
Definitely. And then one more note on that is, just before I got into this business, I always thought that franchise owners, for the most part, weren't really in the store, or they weren't a part of the business. But working here and then actually going to different franchises, I've noticed that the owners are more than likely in the store when I'm there. So I think that there is a difference in brand too, where some brands are meant to, it's really just from the ground up. The owner is in the store all the time. They're basically an employee of themselves. And then there's those other ones where they're not in the store at all and they own, 100 different franchises and they work from a big office. So I think that's where your personas come in as well. Is this a person that wants to work there, or is this a person that wants to own something and basically have this machine run for them and then move on to the next?
That's a big strategy question. Do I go with somebody that has their own, corporate structure and is multi-store owner group typically?
Yeah.
Or do I go, to the singles, to the owner operator? And that's a decision that every franchise has to make. But again, going back and looking at that, you can still take into consideration as you develop personas what that looks like. And even in those scenarios, you will find you can at least send out the messages that either support that individual or that corporate structure with your message, or will help them kind of move again and get re-engaged again with your brand and feel good about your brand.
Definitely. Well, I got one more question for you, Chris, and we're going to talk about this more in the future here, but I just want to kind of have an appetizer here, and that is, how quickly should a franchise look to expand?
Wow. I mean, that's, again, one of those questions where everybody kind of has a different perspective. My perspective is I like to look at statistics. One of the things I've seen recently is Entrepreneur Magazine claims that success rates for franchises are greater than 90%. Which, if you look at that, that makes that the lowest failure rate of any type of business. So if you're looking at, going back to the expansion side of things, if you're looking to expand and you have the capital, the resources to do such, that's the first question. You have the capital. That's where a lot of people get in trouble, is they don't have the ability behind them to expand. They overexpand. They're not able to produce the process.
Yep.
And that's really what you have to ask yourself is, can I truly duplicate the process? Smartest strategy that I've ever seen is one in which it grows from one location within a state and starts to spread out, so the brand can maintain a strength and then continues to expand regionally. Think of it like a ring. You put the map on the wall and you draw the ring and you say, these are the areas. What's within this area? What do I need to understand? And then you expand that ring a little more. The reason is every time you do local marketing, people see your brand, they'll start to understand your brand in that area, and you're able to move that brand out. That creates a far more successful opportunity, I guess, than if you just go out all over the place and start going all over the country. Yeah.
Well, up here in the north of the United States here, I've been seeing a lot of Quick Trips. Would you say Quick Trip is one of those brands that is using that strategy that you just talked about?
Yeah, and they're a corporate model, but they definitely have done it right. They're expanding consistently. I believe early on they had that ring of here's where we want to be.
Yeah.
And then they've done some wonderful things. They've got great product, very clean stores, and they do it right. And they're more of a marketplace feel. They have a lot of different products, some low-cost products that draw you in. They're doing a lot of great things, but they had that model for sure. Now they're going to continue to expand, and we'll see how that plays out, because what happens quite often in the branding world is the further you get away from home, the harder it is for people to understand or recognize your brand. The brand becomes, as we call it, watered down. And potentially what can happen, and I don't think it'll happen in Quick Trip's case because they're pretty smart, but what can happen is people start looking at your brand like it's kind of that, that bad, organization that's just collecting money and sending it somewhere out east to Wall Street or wherever it might be. So you got to be careful of that. As you expand, you want to make sure people understand from a local perspective. No, we're good to the local community, whether that's an urban environment or a rural environment. It doesn't matter, or suburban. Make sure that people in the area feel like you're part of what they're doing.
Awesome. Well, that was super insightful for me. I hope it was for you as well. That's all we have time for today, everybody. So thank you for joining me, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. This is great, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, always a pleasure having you. And we will catch you next time right here on ATM.
You just listened to All Things Marketing Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast to catch every new episode every day. Want to be a guest on the show? Sign up at PureDriven.com/guest. See you tomorrow here at the ATM.